Hey folks, it's Bill Meeks with a bonus episode here for you. First week, right? So at the end of Everly Heights, a local's guide, you got to hear me talk a little bit about the real Wheeling, West Virginia. Well, that caught the ear of my old friend Butch Maxwell, who is a radio DJ. So we set things up, and here on the afternoon of September 17th, I sat down with Butch for about 40 minutes or so to talk about Everly Heights and the things in Wheeling that inspired Everly Heights and the situations and the reality of being a podcast producer, a comedic improviser, and somebody who's from Wheeling all in one package like I am. It's a lot of fun. It was great catching up with Butch. I met Butch my first semester at West Liberty State College. He was Frankenfurter to my chorus member, a Phantom, in the Rocky Horror Show, which was my first show in college. So Butch and me go way back. He was also in a short film that I did later on in college called Table 3. I believe it's on my YouTube channel at Bill Meeks LA. Anyway, this is a really fun, in-depth interview about Everly Heights and my connection to Wheeling and how it all mixes together in this weird artistic soup I call a podcast. So enjoy Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime featuring Bill Meeks. Appropriate.
Welcome once again to Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime here on a Wednesday afternoon, a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday afternoon. If you are in the office or in some closed quarters or something, find a reason just to go outside, give yourself a minute or two and look up at the sky and just breathe this in. It's an amazing day. It's just glorious. And I know I'm here along with Lola Miller. We're just enjoying this weather so much. I got a big show today. A couple of things going on. I've got a couple of guests today, and I'm going to enjoy talking to each of them. But first up is my very good friend, Cassandra Majetic, and she is directing Ogilvy Institute Towngates Theater's production of Agatha Christie's classic, The Mousetrap, which opens this weekend. I'm really looking forward to speaking with her about that. Then after the mid-break, my guest is going to be Bill Meeks, who is the creator of a brand new anthology radio drama called The Everly Heights Tale. It's been inspired by his hometown of Wheeling. He lives in California now, but he's got this series that kind of reimagines Wheeling as sort of the nostalgic community of Everly Heights, and it's told through various different stories. And so I'm going to be talking with him kind of in depth after the break. I had to let that go. I had to get that far with David Bowie, Starman. Haven't heard that in a long time. Music courtesy of Lola. She always picks out the tunes here, and I let her go with it because, I feel like we're in good hands. Hey, Mystery Theater Unlimited is celebrating its 30th season with a brand new show, Harry Forgot Her and the Pantry of Secret Sauces. It's a musical parody that's part Harry Potter and part complete nonsense. If you want to picture Harry Potter colliding with a board game Clue, and it's set to music with silly songs, wild characters, audience interaction, and dinner, you might find yourself even playing a wizard. It's Murder Mystery Dinner Theater at its funniest. The show runs not for another couple of weeks. We're taking this slight break because most of our cast is in the Towngate show. So they're actually playing in another murder mystery right now. But our show, the Harry Forgot Her and the Pantry of Secret Sauces, will run Friday, October 3rd and Saturday, October 4th up in Steubenville at Scaffidi's Restaurant. And then it's Wednesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. at the Rebecca in Wellsville, Ohio. And then finally, Thursday, October 9th, we'll be back here in Wheeling at River City Restaurant, and that'll be at 6:30 p.m. on October 9th. And then also October 24th, a special show at the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Wheeling. Now, I know that's a lot of dates for you, so we'll just put it this way. It's if you want to find out more about us, go to mysterytheaterunlimited.com. And yeah, theater is spelled with an R-E because they're just kind of pretentious that way. But 30 seasons means 30 years of ridiculous murders, terrible puns, audience laughing at themselves silly. And if you've never experienced an interactive murder mystery dinner theater, this is your chance to help celebrate Mystery Theater Unlimited 3 decades of mayhem right here in Wheeling, West Virginia. All right, that's shameless self-promotion for this week. I have on the line with me somebody who also hails from, or at least was a resident of Wheeling when I knew him, Bill Meeks. Hey, Bill, are you on the line?
I am, Butch. How you doing?
Great. So good to talk to you. It's been a long time, but I wanted to just introduce you to the audience. Bill is the creator of Everly Heights Tales, which is an anthology radio drama that takes inspiration from his hometown of Wheeling, West Virginia. And the series reimagines Wheeling as the nostalgic community of Everly Heights, told through stories by turns that are unusual, humorous, and heartfelt. Bill's a veteran podcaster and a creative producer with more than 10 years of experience, and he's using this project to bring his storytelling back to its roots and honor the community that first sparked his imagination, Wheeling, West Virginia. And his mother has called Wheeling, his mother's family has called Wheeling home since the 1920s, and he himself lived here for 15 years. So that's the background. I've saved you that kind of stuff. But catch me up. Tell me what you've been doing since you graduated from West Liberty State College, or West Liberty University, I guess it was, some years ago.
Okay, well, first, Butch, we'll go ahead and fast forward about 3 years.
Okay.
3 years. Well, I found myself. No one wants to hear about that.
Okay.
But as many people do, I ended up falling in love, getting married to someone I went to West Liberty State College with, or it was State College back then.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been working as a media producer. I've done everything from doing video production for internet startups to I've worked for Hearst Television that owns KDKA up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think it's KDKA. No, WTAE. I'll get in trouble.
That's Channel 4. Yeah, that's WTAE. Yeah.
But, I worked for them for a long time and producing like internal podcasts and videos and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I also kind of spun up my own thing under the banner of Universe Box. I produced about 4 or 5 different regular weekly podcasts where we would talk about our favorite TV shows.
Oh, okay.
We'd sit down, we'd watch Once Upon a Time or Gotham on television, and then we'd sit down and we'd talk about it. We'd have a chat room that we'd interact with on it and everything.
So an unscripted panel show then is what you did. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of a, literary criticism, but not so literary.
Right. I get that. I've listened to many such podcasts. Yes.
So, my experience with podcasting there led me to wanting to try to do some sort of audio drama. Because I grew up, my grandfather, who was from Wheeling, introduced me to radio dramas. He had a bunch of cassette tapes of like Baby Snooks and the Bickersons.
Oh,
and
that's
Jack Benny
great.
Show.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've always had a deep love for the format. And a few years ago, while I was working in news, and the concept of fake news was floating around in the ether.
Right.
I was like, I work in news, and everyone who works here is super devoted to, the ethics of journalism, right?
Integrity,
and
honor,
fake, exactly. And the fake news isn't really a thing.
Right.
But what if it was? And so I made a comedy podcast called The Fakest, all about a news station that was as devoted to making stuff up as real news stations are to telling the truth and, being out there and being truth tellers.
Yeah.
And I did a few seasons of that. It was a lot of fun. It was part sketch comedy, part ongoing story.
Okay.
And one of the things I liked about it was the variety of stories I could tell within an episode. I might have an episode where the Power Rangers become real in Japan, but there's also character drama in there. So, when I was approaching how to do Everly Heights as a thing, a storytelling experience, I was like, why don't I go back to audio drama? Because, this season on Everly Heights Tales, we have everything from we have a musical, we have a edutainment, 90s edutainment show.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a sitcom. It really allows me to sort of stretch my wings in the genre.
It's sort of an anthology, then, in a way, isn't it? I know I'm looking for labels and stuff, but one of the things that struck me, and I listened to one episode. I couldn't listen to all 3 of them because I wasn't in Wi-Fi. I could only listen to it when I was in Wi-Fi. So before I get off I want to know where our listeners can download or stream your podcast. But it reminded me of, I don't know, the sort of wistful kind of a Lake Wobegon kind of an idea or something like that. Are you familiar with Garrison Keillor's old show?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the best like long form, semi-fictional, not fictional storytelling.
Right. Yes, right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Although it isn't with a primary
love,
storyteller, you've got different characters playing stories. I is what I'm gathering, if I'm correct there. Is that right?
Oh yeah, this first one is my buddy Sam Lewis, who worked with me on The Fakest.
Okay.
And then the next one is going to be narrated by me. But for the most part, unless it's one of a handful of characters I really enjoy playing, I try and step back and engage all of my really talented voice actor friends from across the wider internet to help me out. I think this season, on The Fakest, we would have 20 or 30 voice actors every season. I think this season of Everly Heights Tales, we have 14.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
That's a pretty big cast. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, let me jump to the queue here. Where can we download this if we want to listen to Everly Heights Tales?
Oh, absolutely. Anywhere you find your podcast,
Okay.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just search for Everly Heights Tales, or you can go to the website, everlyheights.tv, and it's all over the place because it's new, so I'm promoting it.
Okay, yeah, definitely, yeah. Everly Heights TV, okay, .tv, so and it's Heights plural with an S at the end of it. Good, all right. So, tell me this, what made you decide to reimagine Wheeling as the fictional Everly Heights rather than setting stories, directly in Wheeling itself? Why did you decide to fictionalize this?
Well, for one, I think, as a writer, being able to not just change names, but sometimes kind of tweak situations that resemble reality but aren't actually reality allows you to push it to a narrative point.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't want to offend. You don't want to call it, Charlie Hustle, and then Charlie Hustle and Wheeling is like, hey, I thought that was a private thing, or something like that. So,
I get that. I do that all the time. I was one of those questions that I asked and I knew the answer to because I do it all the time too, Bill. So it's all right. It's changing the names sometimes to protect the author. So but also for dramatic reasons too. You want to do it because because sometimes the scope of your story is much more narrow or much broader. So.
Yeah, and I'm also, I'm a big writerly kind of writer, and Everly Heights, I forget what the exact translation is, but it basically means like sort of society surrounded by the forest, I guess you could say. And my fictional Everly Heights, because the arts were so important to me, specifically Towngate Theater, which you were just talking about, growing up in Wheeling, they were sort of like a lifeline to me. I decided to make Everly Heights, a town that was economically sort of pushed by the arts.
Right.
Theater, dance, all that sort of thing.
That's true. Yeah. So that kind of leads me to the next question. It's, your family has deep roots here. So are there any specific stories or memories from your mother's family or your own that found their way into your show yet?
Not that it has specifically yet. I will say in the Museum of What Was, an Everly Heights musical, the third episode that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, the main character that I play, Don House, is very much almost a direct imitation of my grandfather, Don Holmes.
Oh, okay.
Who was from there in Wheeling, and he did a lot of a big part of what his professional career was selling, like magnets and pens with your business's name on them.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay. Specialty advertising, what we usually call that. Yeah. Or we used to anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with things like Redbubble and, and the like, that industry has kind of fallen to the wayside. So I kind of I took my impression of my pap, my grandfather, and the basic circumstances of where he might find himself if he were still with us, and then kind of send him back into Wheeling to kind of take a tour of, honestly, all of the things that kind of made me leave Wheeling in the first place. Like, they're fictional situations, but every single encounter that Don House has in Everly Heights is based on a situation that happened to me.
Yeah.
That kind of made me realize that, I kind of had to move on.
Yeah. Well, I get that. And if it's led to your this excellent work, then I'm glad you moved on. But I'm also glad you were here and had our influence. Tell me, what specific locations or landmarks in Wheeling might we recognize through the gentle disguise that you've offered for Everly Heights tales?
Well, Butch, we've already talked Towngate, so I have to say that Cornerstone Theater it's Towngate.
It's Towngate.
In fact,
did you know there was a Cornerstone Theater at one time here in Wheeling in the 90s? It was kind of a competitor to Towngate. In fact, their original idea, I was part of the board that created it, and the original idea was that to be, Ogilvy Institute's Stifle Center, Fine Arts Center. Well, they were going to call it Unstifled. But yeah, there was go ahead.
I did actually know that, and that's part of the reason I chose the name. For one, they were defunct, so I didn't want Towngate to get upset with me, because originally I just called it Towngate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And plus, Towngate and Cornerstone both say something about theater, and it's sort of like how it's like a gateway into the town, into the society.
Yeah.
So when I decided, I'm actually going to be doing this and decided to switch from Towngate, Cornerstone was the first one that popped in my head.
That's
mostly
great.
For that previous organization.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally got it. Is there a pizza place where they put the cheese on after it's cooked? Do we get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Squares Pizza. It shows up in the first episode and a little bit later on in the season. But yeah, very much based on, I believe it's called Patsy's Pizza now.
Yes.
But the Carlos and the Grove.
Yeah.
That was anytime we were running around trying to find something to do between partying or going to the coffee shop, Wheeling Coffee on Washington Avenue. Yeah. We'd end up down at the Carlos Pizza. Yeah. Speaking of the coffee shop, I changed it to the coffee shop with a K, Wheeling Coffee down on Washington Avenue. Hugely important to me when I was 18, 19 years old, mixed up with the punk scene in Wheeling. And so that's a key location in Everly Heights for sure.
My daughter was a hipster there for a while herself. And then, I guess we can look forward to your developing a fish market that has this great, I'm trying to think of all of the iconic things in Wheeling that you might be tell me this, how do you create this sort of nostalgic community feeling with sound design and voice work? Is there anything that you've put together for that in particular with this type of a series?
Well, honestly, as an artist, I always try and hew back to kind of first thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. So Everly Heights is based on Wheeling. Luckily, we have a thing called YouTube where there's hours of that sound, natural sound of Wheeling. So one of the things I do to kind of sweeten the audio is I've pulled down probably about 3 hours of natural sound recorded around Wheeling. And anytime we're outside, that's the background noise.
Wow, that's great. That's surprising authenticity. We're after 10 years or so in podcasting, and what was we'll put it this way. I'm sorry. I'm get my question straight here. What's the difference when doing the other type of podcast, like say a panel show podcasting, and then this anthology style series, and also a scripted series? How different is that? How much longer does it take you to put together an episode?
Well, I think to answer that, first I have to answer how they're similar.
Yeah, okay.
And that's planning. Mm-hmm. Both of them require a tremendous amount of planning, whether you're sitting down to have a free-form conversation or sitting down to perform something scripted. Having a good plan in place is super important.
Yeah.
That being said, I like the sort of live aspect of sort of fan podcasting where it's you and one, maybe two other people, and you just have maybe a show doc, a rough outline, and you get on there and you talk your hearts out, right?
Yeah.
I love doing that. The improviser, I do a lot of improv comedy. The improviser in me loves it too. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also a really big fan of structure and planning and finding meaning in the pre-work on a project.
Sure.
Like a lot of times by the time I get to a final draft, don't get me wrong. I think these final drafts of all of the Everly Heights Tales episodes are exceptional and some of the best stuff I've ever produced.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the process more than I do sitting down and listening to the finished product.
I totally relate to that completely. I'm the same. I like when doing a play. I like the process of rehearsing and all that. Okay, yeah, we got to perform it now. It's all right. But that's really yeah, and the writing process too. That's something that you and I both share. So that's fantastic. You mentioned returning to your storytelling roots. So what does that do for you creatively? Cathartically, is that something that you think is kind of ingrained in you as a storyteller?
Absolutely. I'll say, my grandma, Lucy Plants originally, who was also from Wheeling, always from the time I was very young had me pegged as a writer. I'm not sure what she saw in me, but I kind of always went with it. And I think, my writing has always been a good way for me to figure out my own life and myself. Like, a lot of these scripts I've written for Everly Heights Tales, they're really about me sort of processing, the potential regrets of, leaving my family and everyone I ever knew, in my 20s to pursue something more, I guess you could say. I don't want to say that demeanatively.
No. You understand. There's opportunities elsewhere. So, but you have a sense, kind of a bittersweet sweet sense of this, right?
Yeah. And I think, a lot of the scripts this season, particularly the Museum of What Was, really allowed me to kind of put my therapy on the page and sort of work out a lot of these really sort of personal feelings I've had.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you balance your, kind of unusual, humorous, and heartfelt elements? I mean, are there certain stories that lean more toward one tone, or do you try to blend all three into each episode? And how does that work?
I like a good smorgasbord. I like a good mixed drink, right? Like you got to have the sweet and the sour in the cup to kind of knock you back on your feet and make you take notice, right? Like I love humor, and I love doing like I said I've done a lot of live improv comedy and stuff like that. But I think it's important for there to be sort of moments of emotional rawness and honesty and humor too. Yeah. And so I think that, and then I try and write something really serious and it ends up kind of funny. I try and write something really funny and it ends up kind of serious. Yeah. So we land somewhere about in the middle. I call it dramedy. A lot of people do.
I think that makes sense. And again, I totally relate to that too. When you try to do something serious, and it comes out a little bit funny too. Sometimes with me, you have to balance it back. Also, talking about improvisation. I do a bit of it too. And I think what I've always learned is, I'm at my best when I don't try to be funny. I just try to be honest. And sometimes that's hard in improvisation. And, I think the same thing carries through in writing too, because writing can be kind of an improvisation with yourself. And, you just start writing characters and they just take on, it's like Luigi and Pirandello, the 6 characters in search of an author. Suddenly they've got the life of their own. And if you're lucky.
Yeah, I actually do, Butch. I do use some improvisation stuff or sketch comedy, I guess, in my writing. Like a lot of times when I'm breaking down a script for the first time, what I'll do is I'll get a legal pad and I'll put each scene on a page. And then I'll go through and I'll put the first line for each character on each page. Yeah. And then, after I do like 10 pages, 10 scenes, I go back to the first page, do the second line.
That's an interesting process.
And it kind of gives you enough separation from your original thought to where you can almost improvise with yourself. It's never as good as doing it with somebody, a talented improviser in the moment, but I
like the technique
you can get when you're working on your own.
Bill, the music means we're out of time. Thank you so much. We've been talking to Bill Meeks, creator of Everly Heights Tales. Download it anywhere that you get your podcast. I'm Butch Maxwell. You wasted a perfectly good hour with me. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. So there.